Hello and welcome to the news on NTA International. Reaching you live from Abuja, I am Habiba Oladipo. We begin with a look at headlines. The Presidential Election Petition Court dismisses PDP petition in all grounds and in its entirety, commends the brilliance of councils in their written addresses. Nigerians commend Presidential Election Petition Court's verdict, says it portends good omen for the future of Nigeria. President Muhammadu Buhari reassures Nigerians that the next level executive council will not fail in its responsibilities. And we begin with the judiciary, where the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal upheld the election of President Muhammadu Buhari in the 2019 general elections and dismissed the petition filed by the People's Democratic Party and its candidate, Atiku Abubakar, in its entirety for lack of merit. The tribunal held that the petitioners failed to prove the allegations of irregularities in any of the states where it alleged overvoting, but rather presented documents which are not enough to prove the allegation. On the issue of the President Buhari's certificates, the tribunal held that the President is not only qualified, but eminently qualified as contained in form of 199 that shows how he obtained a West African examination certificate in 1961 with 5 credits in relevant subjects, including English and mathematics. And Presidential Election Petition Court has is the petition of the People's Democratic Party and its candidate, Atiku Abubakar. In a unanimous ruling, the 5-man panel of justices led by Justice Mohammed Garba described the petition as lacking in merit. The court resolved all 5 issues raised by the PDP in favor of President Muhammadu Buhari, APC and INEC. The court said the petitioners failed to prove their case. The chairman of the panel, Justice Mohammed Garba, commended the brilliance exhibited by the council in their written addresses. Meanwhile, Nigerians have applauded the verdict of the Presidential Election Petition Court and commended the 5-man panel of justices for painstakingly looking at all sides of the case before giving their verdict.
To be able to see this proceedings through, the reality is that everybody is at consensus that their lordships have done a most wholesome and highly overwhelming job in the presentation of the rulings and the judgment. So whichever side of the divide anybody has fallen, it is appreciated that their lordships have done such a very yeoman job. The reality is that they put so much energy and erudition into the production of the rulings and the judgment. So we are all happy about it.
Well, we thank God. We knew from the one that they had little or nothing to hinge their case on. The highlights of the judgment are that the 5 grounds they raised were all dismissed. The first ground is on the issue of the qualification of the president, where the court held that the president is not only qualified, but eminently qualified to run for the office of president. The other one is on the issue of server, where the court held that there was no provision to electronically transmit any result to any server. The third ground was on the issue of overvoting and malpractices. And the court held that they had no single, no shred of evidence to prove that allegation of overvoting and malpractices. And of course, the last ground, which the 4th and 5th ground they put together, is on the issue of violence and aiding and abetting and alleged rigging by security agencies. And the court held that because they did not join security agencies, they did not join the Inspector General Police, they did not join the Chief of Army Staff, they did not join the Chief of Naval Staff, they could not rely on that ground because they must be given fair hearing. If you allege that security agencies aid, must also give an opportunity to be heard. So overall, this has always been a storm in a teacup. This whole case was a low case in the beginning.
A judgment has been given. We have a legal team. The legal team is to study the judgment and advise us on the next step to take.
And away from legal matters, President Muhammadu Buhari is reassuring Nigerians that the next level Federal Executive Council will not fail in its responsibility of guaranteeing their safety, security and prosperity. Addressing members of the council before the commencement of their maiden meeting, the president insists that service to the nation and humanity must remain the guiding principles. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has the details.
Nigeria's highest policy decision-making body, the Executive Council of the Federation, meeting for the first time since reconstitution after the inauguration of the Buhari presidency for a second term in office. It is made up of 43 members, the largest since the rebirth of democracy in 1999. 14 of them returnees from the last tenure, while the remaining 29 are fresh appointees. For the new cabinet members, President Muhammadu Buhari said the maiden meeting provides them an opportunity to exchange ideas and perfect the administration's stated policy objectives that will positively impact Nigerians.
The majority of Nigerians who voted for us gave us a clear mandate. A, to enhance the security of lives and property across the entire country. B, to create a diversified and inclusive economy that will bring prosperity to all. And C, to install governance and accountability in our systems and processes, thereby eliminating corruption. Therefore, all ideas and projects to contribute to achieving these goals shall be foremost in our deliberations. We must not fail them.
The president used the forum to explain that the creation of new ministries as well as the restructuring of some of their functions was a deliberate attempt at enhancing effective service delivery in the country.
For example, to achieve our goal of economic diversification and inclusive growth, we merged the Ministry of Finance with that of Budget and National Planning. We also created a Ministry for Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development to fully institutionalize our various interventions that support some of the poorest and most distressed citizens of our country. Furthermore, we split the Ministry of Power, Works and Housing and Ministry of Transportation and Aviation to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of our infrastructure delivery programs and projects.
The Ministry of Police Affairs, he said, was re-established to coordinate efforts at developing and implementing strategies that will enhance Nigeria's internal security in synergy with other security and intelligence agencies, as well as support the re-establishment of civil authority in liberated areas of the Northeast. President Buhari said the Ministry of Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs, on the other hand, will manage key projects and initiatives of the presidency, as well as coordinate multi-agency and interministerial functions.
We must work in harmony with each other. Communication and teamwork are the hallmarks of success. Keep in mind the oath you took in this very room 3 weeks ago. As a government, our focus must remain in that of selfless service.
For the 14 returning ministers, President Muhammadu Buhari, for the opt-in term, explained that their reappointment was based on merit. During the first term, he said they executed their mandate diligently and in a patriotic manner, which according to him must not only be sustained but improved upon in driving the next level agenda. The president therefore instructed the secretary to the government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, also a returnee, to draft a schedule of responsibilities for both substantive ministers and ministers of state for his review and final approval. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
A new drive for Nigeria to use her diversity as a strong link for socio-economic development and effectively bring about the much-needed change in the country is being pursued by experts at the African Conference on Peace, Diversity and Education. This is at the instance of the Institution for Peace and Conflict Resolution and the University of Bradford to strengthen and foster cohesion productivity. Haman Jabani reports.
It is said that cultural diversity is important because our country, workplaces and schools increasingly consist of various cultural, racial and ethnic groups, and people can learn from one another. But first, there is the need to have a level of understanding about each other as this brings about sustainable peace. This platform is set to achieve all this, as well as for stakeholders the opportunity to review and assess pathways for constructive management of Africa's rich diversity.
Diversity is not a bad thing, but it's just that we tend to mismanage it. So with this conference, the idea is to interrogate the issues that will enable us how to manage it effectively, to enable us to build this country, not just this country, but Africa itself.
Diversity is an enormous form of strength, but it can be very difficult. It can lead to conflict, it can lead to disagreements, it can lead to conflict, it can lead to people rejecting other people. So we need to know how to manage our diversity, manage our peace, and it all depends upon having better education.
Whatever the identity markers, whether they're religion or their race or there are some other markers, I think it's important that we learn to harness our diversity to advance our common humanity. Unfortunately, the challenge that we have is that these identity markers are often manipulated and deployed to cause massive crises and conflicts all over the African continent.
The conference with the theme Achieving Sustainable Peace Through Diversity Managed and Peace Education in Africa will help in the understanding of different perspectives within the continent, examine the impact of diversity mismanagement to peace, security, development of Africa, and build bridges to trust, respect, and diversity management. Haman Jabani, NTA News.
You're watching the news on NTA International, reaching you live from Abuja. We'll take a short break now. More news when we return.
Hey, and are you how they talk to? I sabi you now. Today your mother be the person with them go help us. Baba to Shangalo, Ogalekova, Mr. Sabi. And you don't think carry last for this one. A spear into the top corner. We Sabi say Peking will crawl going waka. So don't look, no help anybody. No dolly, no. Go for her. Go for football. Go for Syria on the League of Marches Live. Go for Go TV Max.
Welcome back to the news. President Muhammadu Buhari has described his victory at the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal as victory for Nigerians who trooped out to overwhelmingly elect him for a second term in office. The president, in a statement by his senior special advisor on media and publicity, Femi Adejino, dedicates the victory to God and to Nigerians, while also commending the judiciary for dispensing justice without fear or favor. President Buhari extends a hand of fellowship to those who felt aggrieved at the outcome of the election and went to court, noting that it was within their democratic rights. He notes, however, that with the pronouncement of the judiciary, it is time for the country to move forward as one cohesive body, putting behind us all bickering and potential distractions over an election in which Nigerians spoke clearly and resoundingly. And to talk more on the verdict of the 2019 Presidential Election Petition Court, I have with me in the studio Barrister Olushola Oke, a senior advocate of Nigeria. You're welcome to the studio, Barrister.
Thank you.
I believe today was a very long day for the judiciary and you witnessed it all. So what's your take on the verdict of the Presidential Election Petition Court, sir?
Well, let me start by congratulating everybody. We've come to the end of a very tortuous journey. I congratulate the petitioners for taking the path of law in not encouraging their members to resort to violence. I also congratulate Mr. President for the victory at the tribunal. The result didn't come to me as a surprise because the very weighty, serious criminal allegations raised by the petitioners, from the way their evidence was front-loaded, from the caliber of witnesses they called, and from their failure to call sufficient evidence and dumping all the documents on the court, it was clear to me that based on the electoral jurisprudence in Nigeria today, that the petition was bound to fail. But I want to commend the meticulous manner the justices went through the evidence, examined all the documents, and the issue of card reader and transmission, all the allegations that are raised, especially the criminal allegations, accusing the army, the police, who had neither made the party, or was anybody called to give evidence in respect of the allegations. I believe we need to comment. Our judiciary is coming up stronger, and the law on election is also developing. I believe that this is also an authority for all other petitioners, that when you make allegations, you must call witnesses to prove them. The issue of cyber raised by the petitioners, INEC denied from day one that they don't have such a cyber, and they appeal to the Supreme Court, which also affirmed the position of the Court of Appeal, that the allegation of cyber cannot be established. So I believe very strongly that this judgment is a well-considered judgment. All the principles of law examined are very sound, and they constitute a good authority that when you make criminal allegations, you must join the parties, you must provide evidence, and when you allege that elections are not well conducted at the units, you cannot make allegation in over 500 units, and you're calling only 60 witnesses, out of which there are only 5 polling unit agents to establish such allegations.
But in your own opinion, for instance, are there areas you feel the court must have omitted, in your view?
The court went through every piece of evidence before the court and examined the petition meticulously the defense put forward. The truth of the matter is that the allegation was not proved in any manner. All the grounds, such as corrupt practices, non-compliance, falsification of result, none was established by any credible evidence. I think the justices did a good job on the petition.
So
and from the look of the petitioners, it's like they were also convinced that justice was done to their petition.
So what does this portend for the future of the country? What do you think, moving forward, how do you think this will play out in Nigeria? Well, moving forward is that, yes, there are areas where INEC really needs to improve, but petitioners should also learn one lesson from this judgment, that you don't proceed to court on emotion. Most of the allegations were based on the emotion of the candidates and the counsel who were asked to prosecute the petition. Election petitions, especially when they involve issues at the grassroots, at the polling unit, is different from when you are talking about collation. If you are complaining about collation, you could call evidence from the collation centers, alleging that there was no accreditation, there was inflation of votes, voters were harassed, they were embarrassed, there was inducement by way of bribery and corruption. These are allegations that you cannot prove by merely dumping election documents on the court. You must be willing to call your witnesses from the units. But one observation I also make is that the way our electoral law is today, it's going to be difficult for a petitioner to establish allegations given the shortage of time. For instance, under the electoral law, a petitioner has only 14 days. A petitioner who is alleging infractions in over 1,000 units, it's going to be difficult, even within 6 months, to be able to establish the allegation. I believe that one lesson we are taking away from this petition is that there may be the need to review the constitution and the electoral to give more time to prosecution of election petitions. So what will your advice be for all parties, especially the opposition at this time? My take is that this is a thoroughly considered judgment.
and that we do not need to give Mr. President any further distraction. Parties will accept the outcome of this verdict, and there will be no need to pursue further appeal on it, so that all of us can come together. I listened to the statement issued by Mr. President shortly, inviting all aggrieved individuals who went to ventilate their grievances at the tribunal to join hands with him to move Nigeria forward. 4 years look long, but before you know it, in another 2 years, another round of election activities will start. So I call on the petitioner, especially the candidate of PDP, not to consider the option of going on appeal, so that we can put this one behind us and look forward to a Nigeria that is stable, that is prosperous, that is economically viable, and that in another 4 years there will be opportunity for him as an individual. He's not still too old to contest if he wants to do so. That's my appeal to everybody concerned.
Many
and
thanks.
Also appeal to Mr. President, the manner of this appeal he has made, he should also reach out to the opposition so that Nigeria can make progress. There are too many things confronting Nigeria, so we cannot allow this election petition to continue to distract us.
Many thanks, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Olushaoke. He has been speaking on the 2019 presidential election petition verdict. And moving on, security vote, is it necessary or legitimate? Well, this was attacked before stakeholders at the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission quarterly policy dialogue on the need for proper accountability of security votes among public office holders. Menka Marachuku tells us more.
Over the years, the issue of security vote has been a source of concern to Nigerians, with many wondering if it is necessary or legitimate. Now, the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, is bringing the issue to public discourse.
Our recent experience as a country that almost lost a geopolitical zone to insurgency, whereas billions of dollars were appropriated for security but diverted by corruption.
Security votes is not meant for defense, and in fact it is not even meant for insecurity. But it can be used for security. It's not meant for insecurity or to solve insecurity. These are key issues that we must take note of.
The things that are confidential, as I think that are critical to the national security of the country, which cannot be in open. But then, at the same time, there must be a way of ensuring that such funds, there's accountability for it in one way or the other.
I would enjoin ICPC, EFCC, our research institutions, to conduct more comprehensive empirical studies that would inform how to take this issue forward and look at what global practices are.
The outcome of this dialogue will assist ongoing research at the Anti-Corruption Academy to produce a policy brief with actionable recommendations for stakeholders in all arms of the government. In Abuja, Umeka Marachuku, NTA News.
And for trending news from the financial sector, it's over to Musa Baba Aliyu.
Nigeria has generated more than 3 billion naira in 3 years through oil and gas free zones. This was part of the report submitted to the Ministry of Trade and Investment on the activities of the free trade zone area.
The last 6 months, we have licensed 20 new companies. This speaks to the renewed confidence companies are having in our zones. Yeah.
In the meantime, the Securities and Exchange Commission says its 10-year capital market plan is already contributing to the growth and development of the country's capital market and the economy. The acting Director General of the Commission, Mary Udok, during the opening ceremony of a 2-day international market conference held in Lagos, says the capital market can serve as a key catalyst for Nigeria's economic growth and development. And the Security Exchange recorded a gain of 0.39% this Wednesday. Musa Baba Aliyu, Business News.
And the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Oyeyama, will lead Nigeria's delegation to the ministerial meeting of the Extraordinary Summit of ECOWAS Authorities of Heads of State and Government, beginning tomorrow, Thursday, 12 September, in Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso. A statement by the spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ferdinand Nwonye, said the theme of the Extraordinary Summit is fight against terrorism. President Muhammadu Buhari is expected to join the summit on Saturday, 14 September. In the meantime, 187 Nigerians in South Africa have checked in for their return aboard Air Peace through Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos. Recent attacks on foreign nationals in South Africa made Nigerian government to take decisive actions to protect citizens in that country, including ensuring safe return for those who voluntarily want to come back home. And the weather prospect for tomorrow is next.